Yeah, I mean that's honest. And I actually think that people are sleeping on the Hawks as well. They're very unloved for a variety of reasons. But no, I could easily see them winning that first round series that people seem to be looking past. Something that the Celtics did in relation to the Hawks is that they kind of threw a game that would have probably secured them home court advantage had they played all their guys. And what I'm wondering is, with the Heat doing this, with so many teams fetishizing rest fetishization, is there a chance that too much of a layoff can hurt teams? Is there anything to support that notion?
It's a great question. I don't think I have. That would take a pretty ridiculous study to look into that, because we don't really have rest numbers readily available. So I think the rest versus rust issue, I've looked at it in the past versus in terms of long layoffs between series. So I guess that has a little bit of, we could project a little bit of that onto this. But I don't think the Heat are going to be worried about Chris Bosh. He hasn't played in 10 days. If they play on Sunday, well, they're going to play on Saturday. So that'll be 12 days of rest for Chris Bosh. That's a long vacation. So he's battling a little bit of a hamstring issue. So he wasn't even playing well before getting hurt. So I think if people look at him struggle in the first round, they're going to call it rust. But really, he just hasn't been playing well in general. So, yeah.
Tom, assuming I don't get any more deliveries right now, I want to ask you about the Bulls offense. A lot of offenses
so, wait,
have fallen.
Zach, before you get started,
yeah.
So the awards on ESPN.com just came out. Did you see that?
I did.
Okay, so there are only 2 guys on the ESPN staff who shared 5 of the 6 awards choices that I made. Who are the other 2?
I would guess myself. Am I one?
That's correct. And Beckley Mason is the other one. So this is just one big
really
family. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't believe
Group Think Live.
Group Think Live.
I feel left.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt that, but go on.
Yeah. So a lot, you can chalk it up to lockout basketball or whatever you want to do, but offense was down this year. And it seemed pretty obvious that it was going to be. The Bulls' offensive numbers really aren't down at all. A lot of people say they're just the same team as last year, but they're a much better three-point shooting team. They're a really good passing team this year. Have they done enough to change themselves without really changing parts?
That's a great question. I don't know how much of the regular season numbers matter with the Bulls going into the postseason, only because, like we talked about before, that rotation is going to shrink. Derrick Rose didn't play half the year. So I do think that Tom Thibodeau, the guy that I chose for Coach of the Year, was just masterful in getting these guys to play defense and getting every inch out of their bench. So they actually gave the Heat a lot of trouble, more so when Derrick Rose was off the court than when he was on the court. And I think part of that is due to the fact he wasn't right when he was playing the Heat. But the offense has been better. They've looked better, and I think you've seen more efficient Carlos Boozer, but you can't discount the effect of Kyle Korver, C.J. Watson, and Ronnie Brewer offensively. I don't think Rip Hamilton's that great.
My last question for you is, a lot of people really pretend that Miami doesn't have a bench because, it doesn't score a lot of points. It's not a very sexy bench. But I look at them as they have James Jones and Mike Miller stretching the floor and being a threat from the arc. Haslam comes in when he's not starting and really just does a great cleanup job. Shane Battier is just a good utility man all over the floor. That seems like 4 really solid guys to me that can make a difference. Even if they're not scoring points, they are at least a threat out there and they're doing their job as a role. Doesn't that constitute what you want from a bench?
Yeah, and I think Brian Windhurst is going to come out with an article, I think maybe tomorrow or the next day, the 5 rules of playoff basketball. And I'll just tease it here for all you listeners out there. On ESPN.com, Brian will come out with this piece. But one of the tenets that he has is that in the playoffs, teams play 8 and trust 7. And for the Heat, if you're going to look for 3 guys that they're going to trust off the bench, it's Mike Miller, Shane Battier, and Joel Anthony. I don't think Ronny Turioff or Dexter Pittman, Norris Cole for that matter, I don't think they're going to play. And these guys had big roles during the regular season. I don't think they're going to play much at all. Udonis Haslem moving into the starting lineup has opened up a whole new can of worms for Eric Spoelstra. He's been wanting to do this for a long time. Bring in Udonis Haslem into the starting lineup, and that means they can bring in Mike Miller off the bench to get that big 5 lineup on the floor. I think the stat is something like they've outscored opponents by like 58 points this season with that big 5 lineup on the court, and that's going to be a game changer. That is essentially their rotation, those 3 guys. So they have a better rotation than people think because they're going to straight up get rid of Norris Cole, who's been dragging down their efficiency all season. He's been just about as bad of a basketball player as you've seen this season. So he's out. James Jones is going to get a couple minutes here and there. But Mike Miller, 45% three-point shooter. Shane Battier, a strong perimeter defender. And Joel Anthony, who's as good a pick-and-roll defender as you'll find in the East, outside of maybe KG and Tyson Chandler. So it's a strong bench. I don't put it against the Bulls. I don't put it above the Thunder, but it's stronger than what people think.
All right, cool, Tom. Well, so are you sticking with the Heat to come out of the East and win it all?
Yeah, I can't bring myself to fall that much in love with the Spurs to pick them to win it all. And I think the Heat have as good a chance as anyone else. So I'll stick with my pick before the season for them to win it. But then again, I picked them to win it all last year, and look how smart I look.
Are you worried that
Well, it was
Beckley
your
has
fault
agreed
last
with you
year.
so much on the awards?
Beckley, who did you pick to win it all?
I picked the Heat.
And Zach, just because we seem to be on the same page here.
I actually in the preseason picked the Bulls, but I would have to lean towards either the Heat or the Spurs right now.
Spurs are a nasty matchup for the Heat if we get there because of the way they shoot the 3 and space them out. I don't like that matchup at all for the Heat. I like the Thunder a lot more.
Ethan, is Ekpe Udo's plus-minus going to win the championship?
Well, won the championship for my heart a long time ago, but the sad end of that tale is that he couldn't get away from Monte Ellis. You know, he had to be stuck with him, and now he plays alongside Monte Ellis, who was trolling his plus-minus with his bad decision-making and bringing him down. So, thus are the problems with collinearity.
Oh, you're after my heart. All right.
All right, thanks a lot, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, guys.